All right, I'd like to call this May 2nd Parks Board meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. We'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Marquardt?
Present.
Mrs. Miller?
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Present.
Mrs. Dixon?
Here.
Mrs. Rivera?
Here.
Mr. Bungie?
Here.
Mr. Austin?
Present.
Mrs. Ray?
Here.
Mr. Wiseman?
Present.
And I am here.
And Dale Holste is absent today. Okay, we'll start with the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the April 2024 meeting. Any discussion on the minutes? Claims, we have the Parks and Rec General Fund, $31,331.64. Park Impact Fee Fund, nothing. Parks and Rec Non-Reverting Fund, $1,987.99. Clubhouse Non-Reverting Fund, $2,538.37. Total expenditures of $35,858.00. No donations. Any discussion on the consent agenda?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, motion by Sarah,
I'll second it.
second by Greg. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. Okay, motion carries 3-0. Old business, Park Foundation. Do you have an update, or Dale kind of gave me an update? It's up to you.
My only update is that the last time that we had heard on this topic, it is the town council to put the, members in place, but with recommendations from the park board, they, were going to start recommending, under direction of the town manager of just getting the board, up and ready to go, and, Mr. Holste had just sent over a recommendation for a board member, and, is anxious to get members started and some motion forward with the Park Foundation.
Okay. Yeah, I know Dale mentioned that he recommended someone that could possibly lead this board and get it going and get it active. So I think we'll need to obviously solicit more members and get some more guidance on how to get this up and running. So any other discussion by the board on this item?
I could add on this topic that the opening of the concession stand building and its use solely relies on the Park Foundation to come into play and to be able to utilize it for concessions.
Yeah, I think the town as a whole could use nonprofits even in other areas to generate funds.
I agree.
Okay, well, we'll have to keep the discussion going on this, and now that we have a nomination, maybe, we'll work with her and Dale to solicit more members and hopefully have a more substantial update at the next meeting. I'd be looking for a motion to defer this item to the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll give a motion to defer the discussion of Park Foundation establishment for the June meeting.
Okay, motion by Sarah,
I'll second it.
second by Greg. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. Okay. Motion carries 3-0. Number 2 in old business is the maintenance shop. Any updates there?
The last, in my superintendent report, I touched on this. Mr. Kubiak was to go out to the clubhouse property, get some measurements, and he was going to be providing us some specs that he had on some steel buildings in his office, but I have not seen any motion on that since our last conversation.
Are those specs that Public Works would construct, or just comparable specs from third-party vendors?
Third-party vendors.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it still the intention that we're going to be looking for a third party to construct and provide the materials?
Absolutely. The only capacity that, like, Mr. Kubiak was talking about being involved is maybe the town acts as the general contractor, but not as the actual laborers, so that there's not enough hands to go
Okay.
around to build a building like that. And also, there's still the topic of the park impact fees being, you know, there was a memo that came through from Mr. Austrian's office asking, you know, the council to consider, like, do they want to try to see if this is going to be a park impact fee? And that really haven't had any answers on that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think as in our discussions, we'll need to know the scope and the price and the, you know, what the exact use of this, it'll have to be documented what the use of this property will be used for, this building will be used for, to make sure that we're within the law, that this is, you know, an acceptable use of park impact fees, that,
That's what we talked about
Yeah.
today and last month, and the path that we're gonna go.
okay.
When we
And
have
obviously,
the
if we're gonna use park impact fees, this would have to get approval from town council, when we cross that bridge, so, okay, so not really any action to take tonight. Be looking for a motion to defer this to the next meeting.
Is it realistic that we'll have specs by June, something to look at?
I don't know, I sit in department head meetings, and Tim Kubiak is in a million directions right now, so I'm really waiting on him to move forward with those things and provide them, and I did remind him in the last town council meeting that I was still waiting on that, so I am keeping up with asking and reminding and hoping that, I don't wanna promise you deadlines when I don't know, it's kinda not sitting on, up to me.
Well, I would motion to defer it to June, and we'll just see what we come up with.
Okay, motion by Sarah,
I'll second it.
second by Greg, roll call please.
Mr. Markort,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, motion carries 3-0. Number 3, an old business, town grounds use and management by Parks Department. Any updates or?
We are still looking for clear direction from the town council on the use and management of town grounds, mostly pertaining to financial responsibilities of what items fall under those financial responsibilities. Is it restroom facilities, shelter facilities? And we are making a little bit of progress as a good faith as the Parks Department, and doing some repairs and putting sod and dirt and bringing sand onto the beach and painting some things. But when it comes to these larger projects, shelters and such, replacement of roofs and shelters, since we have no good direction and the park board and council haven't really come together on that yet, those are things that are very much in our horizons but can't move forward with until, you know, it was never made clear what exactly was our roles and responsibilities, do we have full use of the grounds, and it even kind of falls deeper into going into agreements for the use of town grounds, when, you know, is it the parks, is it the councils, and it'd be so much easier to manage once we had those just all figured out, so.
Yeah. And I know there's, you know, the pressing item of the roof for the pavilions outside, so.
To the tune of, you know, quotes came in under $17,000. And to replace gazebo and Lion's Den, anywhere from 12 to 17 were the options.
Depending on
that were-
material, yeah.
Yeah, what we were gonna, be choosing. But we did get forward with an internal meeting on storm, issues behind, the park office where we're having a lot of flooding going on, and that has been decided to be an in-house project, along help with Public Works. And so hopefully we'll have some of those smaller things resolved, but the larger ticket items, it's hard to put in a plan or a place and look at the budget if we don't have clear direction, so.
Okay,
Paul,
yeah,
thank you. I want to make clear on your record and in the minutes so that we have some guidance going forward. Town has owned this property since 1979. It's been in the exclusive control, oversight, management, monitoring, use under the town council since they purchased this property in 1979. A lot of things are different now from 1979, of course. And a lot of the use intended for the property has changed. A lot of visions for the property has changed. Ultimately, at some point, the park board and the town council should really sit down or consider sitting down to discuss that interwoven relationship of how this property is used, how it is or can be used, whether it should be part of a park oversight function or town council oversight function with delegation to you as the park board itself, jurisdictional body of our park department. It's a little complicated in some regards, it's not in others.
Mhm.
It would be my really strong recommendation that there be some kind of a discussion about that. So ultimately, it's clear who's doing what, as Mindy has indicated, and under what conditions. Let me give you an example. If, in fact, the town council agreed that ownership should remain in Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana Municipal Corporation, but the town council would not be interested in being the active manager or the active overseer. An agreement for use of the property could be made, or oversight management of the property could be made by the town council with the park board for exactly that. There can be a term of time, there could be a term of conditions or reporting accountability, maybe that's the best word,
Mhm.
accountability, responsibility, but between bodies, that can occur. So as we see this continue to grow out here and use continues to eat up open ground, which is self-evident, the future use is sensitive, sophisticated, and yet needs some oversight.
I agree.
So I offer that to you, and from 79 to the present, what was all open space became filled with a lot of use, a lot of kids' noises, a lot of activities, civic and otherwise. And this may be the time when this should be considered. We have our council member liaisons here. Maybe they want to comment on that also, but this is messaging between the two bodies
Mhm.
that I would suggest occur.
I agree.
I know it's messy right now, and I know you've been asking for clarification for a while. But we definitely, want to work with you guys and decide what's appropriate, what's best practices in this situation. It's gonna take us a little time to get there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when did we meet? We did meet with the park board and the liaison
Yeah,
a few months ago, right when you guys came on board, just trying to get some forward motion on it. And,
Yeah.
and
maybe
we're
the
being
next
good
step,
partners
yeah.
in trying to do repair and
Yeah.
maintenance, but those high-ticket items, they feel a little scary.
Yeah,
Right.
and
When
maybe
it's
the
other
next
parts.
step is to get some type of executive session where all members that are able to attend can attend, from the council and the park board, and
Public Works.
yeah. anyone that can attend, and at least maybe prioritize those high-ticket, high-priority items,
Right.
and then we move from there, because as Mr. Osham mentioned, the green space is gonna be valuable going forward, and we'll have to work on managing that together, so, yeah, I think that would be the proper next step. Okay, any other discussion from the board members on this item?
So as far as the repairs, are we looking at some kind of goal deadline to get that done? Because I know that accounts are being looked into as far as where the funding would come from.
Yes, I did have a conversation with, our clerk treasurer, and actually the, shelters that are rented here on site go into the park's general, not the park, the town's general budget under miscellaneous. So those funds aren't actually coming into, the park budget to maintain them, nor are like your, contracts that the town goes into for use of grounds. So being like farmer's market or Summerfest, and so, maybe there needs to be some conversation about figuring out is whatever is taken in from the grounds is then self-supporting of your shelters, facilities, and repairs. But everything that's taking place is coming out of the general budget at this time, and it's out of the parks general budget. So sod, sand, seed, dirt, and whatever it's gonna take to fix the stormwater issue.
Can I address something?
Mm-hmm.
Your budget came from a levy, and that levy included what that money was gonna be funded for, so it's open spaces and parks. This was listed as a park. So those roofs that need to be repaired, if we have rentals, I think it's like something that would need to be done quickly. You can't charge someone rent. If you've seen the holes in that shelter, and I understand it's years of neglect, and I'm not blaming anybody, I'm just saying, if we levied the money and told the taxpayers this is what it was gonna be used for, that's what it needs to be used for.
I agree.
And I see a meeting coming up, I'm not just
Yeah.
saying that, but I just think that the urgency, it's May. If you've got these shelters rented throughout the summer, you don't want construction going on when someone's rented a shelter and paid funds for a family reunion that's already been, advertised or whatever.
I
Actually,
agree.
Mary Jo, in May, we have rentals happening in May already.
Okay.
I agree, and I'm part of some of those family reunions out on that, so, yeah, I agree.
Bring
And
a
to-
hammer, no.
Yeah, and to Mindy's point, if we need to figure out then where those rental fees, if they're going to the town miscellaneous fund, then we'll have to figure out how we can get those diverted into a parks miscellaneous fund, then at least going forward, and maybe we can, get those roofs fixed, knowing that going forward, we're gonna manage the rentals and collect the funds.
And we are managing the rentals.
Oh, you are?
We
Okay.
are doing those in office.
Okay.
As a parks
Okay.
department.
But the funds are
And
being,
maintaining them,
the funds are going to a separate, outside of our account.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah, to go into the general fund.
okay, so maybe that's the next step forward, and maybe we just prioritize getting those roofs done.
That'll need an ordinance from the town council
Mhm.
to authorize transfer
Yeah,
to the park general fund, not the town general fund.
Abs-
Those are miscellaneous revenues.
absolutely. Okay, so, if, I know the liaisons there's a lot of things going on with the council, but if that's one of the items you could bring up and just,
Absolutely.
bring that up, that could be a good step forward, and, we can prioritize those roofs at least. Okay. Thank you, Mary Joan. Any other discussion?
So do we have to make any kind of motion to request that the council transfer from those rental funds to parks for this purpose?
Could request it,
Yeah,
amend your agenda and add that and make it a recommendation,
okay.
action to the town council.
I think that's prudent that we at least get that conversation going and put it on the record, so. All right, so I'll make a motion to amend the
No.
You can't.
Yield the
Oh,
nomination.
okay, all right, well, I'll request a motion to amend the agenda to add an agenda item to request the town council, to divert, or create an ordinance to divert the rental funds for the gazebo and the pavilion rentals outside, to be diverted to the town, or the parks, general fund. What's the board's pleasure?
Okay. I will make a motion to amend the agenda to add an item recommending that the town council create an ordinance that would revert the rental funds for the gazebos back to the Parks Department for use.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have first by Sarah and a second by Greg. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markort,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes. Okay, so that was to amend the agenda. So now,
Yes.
so now I'll be looking for a motion to request that from the town council.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to send a request to the town council regarding the reversion of these funds.
Okay, motion by Sarah,
Second.
second by Greg. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markort,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes. Okay, motion carries 3-0. Okay,
So then we need to, motion on the town use topic.
Correct.
yes.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to defer discussion of town ground use and management by parks should we do June or July, I would think?
I think we should do the June meeting and revisit the previous motion.
Okay, so, the motion is to defer this discussion to the June meeting.
Okay, motion by Sarah,
I will second that motion too.
second by Greg. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markort?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries 3-0. Okay, old business number 4, context design 5-year master plan. We have Exhibit A and Exhibit A2. Do you have a explanation for this one? I think it's just an administrative thing, right?
Yeah, we're just going on record to state that the, master plan extension has been signed, by President, Park Board President Dale Holsby, and the, contract has been shared with, Dave Austin's office, as well. So this is final and complete.
Okay. And this amendment was discussed in previous meetings? Now.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Paul, this
Yeah.
should take an action to ratify the signature of Dale Holsby to the amendment.
Okay.
That's made.
Okay. Okay.
I did advise him to sign that
Mhm.
amendment for the extension of time, which is what it was, and, subject to doing this.
Okay, so we're ratifying Dale Holsby's signature as valid and, yeah, okay.
And it's on the record.
Okay, all right, so I'll be looking for a motion to ratify, Dale Holsby as the signatory for this, contract extension with Context Design.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion by Sarah, second by Greg. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markort?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries 3-0. All right, new business, number 1, tourism funds.
I'll speak on this. We gathered for the first Taylor Ice Fest committee meeting, and one of the topics amongst the committee was the tourism funds that the town is granted annually. And the committee would like for the park board to ask for a recommendation to the town council for the use of all of the tourism funds available to host to offset the cost of hosting the 2024 Taylor Ice Festival.
Okay, and these tourism come from like the South Shore, or the,
Hotel motel?
Hotel tax.
oh, okay. And how much are the funds, do we know how much they are, or are they?
$7,000 or something?
No, I don't
No,
think
it's about 4.
Oh, so it's a nominal
It's
amount?
not much, it's gone down.
Okay,
2,500? Oh, I thought, that's what I said, about 3 or 4.
okay,
It used to be higher, it's not anymore.
Some years it's just been split amongst other organizations and such, and some years it's been just given to like Labor Day Festival and to do your Easter egg hunt before the Parks Department. So just asking for a recommendation to allocate that all toward Taylor Ice Festival this year.
okay. Any comments from the town council liaison?
You know, I know in the past we had like 3 or 4 requests and everybody, you know, is asking for it, and it kind of makes it hard, like how do we choose one organization over another? So to me, this would be easy, it's not a ton of money, I don't know what the rest of the council would think about it, but.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as long as we earmark it
like
for programming, you know, obviously as long as the funds are earmarked for programming when they're moved to us, you know.
Easter egg hunt,
Okay. So I'll be looking for a motion from the, or any discussion from the board. Okay. All right, so I'll be looking for a motion to request, from the town council that the tourism funds are diverted to the, Parks, Department.
Now, I did ask Jennifer about that, and I don't believe they're typically dispersed until, I thought it was mid to late summer.
Mhm.
It's after July, it comes to
So-
July
I
tax.
mean, I just, whatever action is taken, I just wanna kind of caveat the board that it may not be coming, you know, it might not be a real quick transfer,
Okay,
just so there's.
thank you, Mr. Bungie. All right, what is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to divert the tourism funds to the Parks Department.
Request the town council.
Request,
Mhm.
town council.
Okay, motion by Sarah,
Second it.
second by Greg. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markort?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries 3-0. Number 2, under new business, is the Taylor Ice Festival.
Kind of staying on the same topic, with the tourism funds, I think it's a good point in the planning process of this upcoming event for the board to earmark a certain budget of special event funds to go towards this event. It's always best to run an event on a budget, and last year we allocated $5,000 with a large lump sum coming from the town council funds. So this year, just knowing what we're starting with and trying to make it happen. So out of our special events line item, having some discussion and an idea of where our starting point is for general budget.
Okay.
To budget the event.
Do you have any idea of, because we spent, a lot of the things we purchased last year were good for future use.
You know, our special event line item that we have in our budget is really used for the Easter egg hunt, the trunk or treat. It will be used for the trunk or treat as we're taking over those events. Some to offset the cost of our participation in the 4th of July parade here. But the majority of it is really sitting there for Taylor Ice Festival with a larger type event. Of course, we are fundraising actively and continuing to, get ready to get our sponsorships out there. I would say let's try to start with $10,000 would be my suggestion, because a lot of what we did last year was tangible, but there's so much to do still. Like we have to update some electric on town grounds, get better lighting. Maybe that's cost of us renting that lighting to happen, and just maybe, anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000. Of course, if it's not used, it's not. But just having a starting point so the new rec coordinator can start figuring out how to plan this and budget it appropriately. Because all we have really remaining is about $1,200 of sponsorship money that was not spent last year. And so that's our starting point to make an event happen.
And then also the tourism funds will help supplement that line item going forward also. Okay. Any discussion from the board?
So all that money will be from the park board, correct? For the whole Taylor Fest? Or
So
will any of that come from
Sponsorship?
the sponsors? Well, the sponsorships, I get that. But will the town be donating like last year?
I don't think we would be requesting the town council to supplement any of the budget for this year.
Last year they picked up a lot of it, right?
Yeah, unsolicited, but to seed the program, they felt that, or to seed the event, the park board didn't even solicit it, but $20,000 came our way to help establish a program or an event of this nature for the community. And with that, we really did focus on those tangible things like tents, lights, patio heaters, these kind of things that we needed, signage that can be reused. But there's also operating costs that go along with the event, and sponsorships weren't that heavy for us. And we solely relied on what the park board put toward it, what we gathered in sponsorships, and what we were able to get, what we were allocated from the town council. So, $25,000, about $22,000 last year was spent on Taylor Ice Festival.
Okay.
With some of them not, this year obviously not being reoccurring costs, but.
Okay. Well, I would say let's tentatively earmark 10,000, knowing that the tourism funds would be coming to possibly supplement that line item, and then we can always revisit it. This really isn't a hard action. This is just to give you guys a starting point.
Absolutely.
To see what's feasible and what's not feasible. We're in May, the event will be in December, and we'll have time to work that out as we progress, so.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion then to earmark $10,000 from the park budget toward 2024 Taylor Ice Festival.
Okay, motion by Sarah,
I'll second that.
second by Greg. Any other discussion? Nope. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markort?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. Motion carries 3-0. Okay, number 3 under new business is Hanover Park parking issues. Exhibits B and B2 on our agenda.
we're still continuing to have issues with parking over at Hanover Park, where patrons are coming and parking in the grass area, leaving divots, disrupting the neighbors that reside in that area, mostly due to when larger events are happening on baseball and softball. This is the result of Chief Fisher investigating, what's going on over there. And I went ahead and took it upon myself to gather some costs associated with some parking type guardrails over there. We did install 2 no parking signs, but there needs to be a more permanent solution. And so I did actually solicit 2 businesses for quotes, and unfortunately, one has completely dropped off. So we have 3 options before us, anywhere ranging from $19,000 to $29,000 to install a parking guardrail on the perimeter of Hanover Park to allow cars not to access the grassy area.
Did option 2 drop off, because they were just under 17,000?
Oh, no, my second, business quote, the vendor that I had reached out to get another quote for you guys, just with another organization.
Okay.
It's just dead in the water.
And so I know where the no parking signs are, there's kind of like partially planted log bumpers. Is that part of the area where this fence would go, as well as around and then in front of the playground?
Yeah, so, if I wish I should have put a drawing in here, and I apologize, I'm a pretty visual person myself. But exactly where Sarah's stating, where we do have some old telephone poles that had been put down previously, and we would leave an opening for entrance into the, just a pedestrian entrance up by the playground area, was accounted for, and then, an access point for the equipment to be able to get through and to maintain. So this is the whole perimeter, of your parking lot that sits up against the grassy areas. It's running nothing along the side of the baseball field, so.
Okay.
So all the temporary stuff that's there now will be removed and it'll all be replaced?
Yeah, this is a permanent solution. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to review and have discussion. Is this something that we would like to move forward with in this budget year, or, push it off? I believe that space is always going to be a parking lot, and that green space is always going to be green space. So if that is something that you are considering moving forward, a parking guardrail is not going to do any future issues or have any future issues and present that when it comes to that park itself. So it's just securing the parking lot from the actual open space.
Yeah, this was an issue brought up very early on.
Yep.
And I do agree that playground and the neighbors over there need some sort of protected barrier. My question would be for option 1 and 2. They don't say timber, so what material are those made out of?
So that is your regular steel guardrail, and really the pricing difference is the same material, so what you see alongside the highways and such. And the price difference is really about the spacing of how far apart the posts are put. So you could go 6 foot apart or 12 foot apart, and the price differences are there, reflective, between option 1 and 2. Option 3 is a timber guardrail, and that's actually, I think, B2. It is, almost looks like, it's a wood fence, but it's treated. It's a little more aesthetic, maybe a little more park-friendly than highway-friendly, but there's costs associated, more costs with it. And that was an option, which is pretty much a maintenance-free option as well. So that would be your option 3 on your B.
Do you have any idea what the lifespan is for either product expected?
I didn't even ask that, nor did they really give me any of that information. There's warranty work, obviously, that comes with it, but that timber is supposed to be a long-lasting product, but obviously not as much as the steel, so.
But it looks nicer. To me, the wood does.
Nice question. Does this include installation and shipping? I
Includes,
don't see it on the,
it includes installation, yes.
but not shipping?
Well, it would be set up for the company to come out, set up, and install, so they would be bringing the materials. This is the all-in package.
Okay.
It does say no removals are included, so is that Public Works would remove what's currently there, or what's the plan with that?
I would assume that, we just have a few telephone poles to move off-site and, I think, or maybe a few parking blocks, but that could be done in-house.
Mhm. And how, I'm vaguely familiar with the issues that were brought up a couple of years ago. So how is this gonna impact the neighbors in that area? So those cars that were currently parking there are gonna be diverted now somewhere else.
I can see that side of the coin as well, but it's also, concerning to the neighbors that cars are right up on their property line and sometimes over it if they don't have an existing fence. And really the open spaces and the grass weren't put there for cars to park. So yes, it could create an issue where there's not extra overflow parking, but it's really hard for the police department to manage the situation with the current way that it is, and I suggested that I would get you guys quotes to just make some considerations if there was a more permanent solution for it.
And is this something where we need to consult with like Cedar Lake softball, or do we can just do this?
What I do want you to know is when I arrived, as your new park superintendent, there was already Christopher Burke had went out and started to create a map of a fence, and this was being considered prior to my arrival here years ago, but there was no quotes provided, but they were just starting to show like this is where you could be placing a fence. So fences were being considered prior to maybe the board and my arrival out there.
Yeah, I know this was a hot topic issue, a couple of years ago. I don't know if if it's gotten any better, obviously not, and if Chief Fisher has, recommended this. What does the board think? I don't know if we should defer this to the next meeting and consider this over the next month, or if this is something we have to move on quickly. The other question I had is, could this be an acceptable use of park impact fee, or is this, just a line item?
It's probably not an impact fee.
Okay, thank you.
Do we know what funds are available under?
It could come under one of our capital improvement opportunities. There might be some transferring of funds around. It could come out of facilities as a service, which has a pretty nice balance still sitting there. I think that maybe speaking of upcoming projects and going in internally and talking about what we'd like to prioritize would be a good, if you're thinking of the $29,000 option, maybe we should reprioritize, as we have no idea exactly where everybody sits about big, larger ticket items and what's upcoming. And I just wanted to give you an idea and start the rapport about it. The quote, is what it is. It's valid for 10 days, but we've already had it for 10 days. This is something that we're just trying to show that we are looking to help resolve some issues for the residents over there near our park and help take some of the calls off of the police department's plate pertaining to those calls.
Okay.
So have the issues already starting for this year with people parking in grass?
Yeah.
And there's not much else we can do temporarily to...
There's no parking signs placed,
No.
extra patrol, some enforcement.
Yeah, and I know it might be tough to do this. What's the installation timeline? Is it...
I don't even know, like, when we
Finish
could
it in
be
a day, or is it
due
a
for
week?
it.
Is it because it could be challenging if they're installing right in the middle of softball season and cars are parking and materials are left out over the week. I don't know how that's going to impact everything. So maybe this deserves some further discussion.
Yes.
At a future meeting.
So Mindy, if you could find out the turnaround for the job, for it to get done.
Sure.
And how long it's expected to take, and, I don't know if there's anything else you need to add to that.
I would just hate for materials to be delivered and sitting there for an extended period of time before they're installed too. That would be a question I would have, especially during the middle of, of a softball season.
I do know that, when this was originally sent over our way, that the timber guardrail was a longer, delivery time to get to them, to be able to bring it and install. So, but the guardrail is in supply and not an issue.
Okay.
And if you can get me a picture of the metal one, I mean, I can imagine what the highway looks like, but I'm just
Sure,
curious.
sure, sure.
So on that note, I would motion to defer further discussion on the Hanover Park parking issue to June.
Okay, motion by Sarah,
Second that,
second by Greg. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markort?
yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. Okay, item number 4 under new business is parks vehicle.
All me tonight.
Yeah,
This is all
right.
me.
Right.
So it's been identified the need for the Parks Department to acquire another vehicle. We have two, currently, just as far as vehicles go, we have 2 maintenance pickup trucks. But for the Rex coordinator, who is running back and forth to the clubhouse, who, him and I are attending training, we can't take the park maintenance vehicles away from the crew in order to do those. So we're going into our own cars and having some travel reimbursements that are coming our way in our budget. And I think we've grown enough and solidified duties and needs of the department to constitute a conversation, at least, about having a third vehicle option. So I presented to you different styles and options of vehicles for your review, and wanted to see if you guys want to move forward with this, or, you know, defer and see if there's even a larger need for something down the line, so.
Yeah, I know there was discussions about obviously getting just a small SUV used for the, used for the parks. I know other departments have, vehicles for similar use, for getting around town, and, so I know you gave us a lot of options here. We prefer to stay local. What's your opinion on the options that you presented?
I prefer to stay local myself.
Mm-hmm.
I know that shouldn't be the only consideration into this, but when I'm looking at specs across the 3 lowest priced vehicles, I like the fact that if we do stay local, and since the town is experiencing a mechanic issue, that we are right here in the same community to get anything fixed, work done, or warranty work. So the other, the Equinoxes were actually coming over from an Illinois dealership that had quoted us.
Yeah.
So, and those were your first 2 lowest options.
And it looks like there's a Jeep Compass Sport.
It's all-wheel drive.
Looks like they're giving you a discount at James, of Cedar Lake for $26,672. And free oil changes, and the warranty is 3 years, 36,000 miles, and a powertrain of 5 years, 60,000.
As with all the other vehicles, all the
they're all-
warranties just
okay.
stayed the same. And then I broke down, any incentives that would be coming our way, and this is actually the only vehicle that came with a incentive of 2 free oil changes with tire rotations, and then just a $500 off incentive to
Okay.
shop local.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna do this, I'd prefer to stay local. I mean, we really only have one new car dealer in town, so I'd like to stay local. What's the board's thoughts?
From this list, I would agree, the cheapest one from Cedar Lake, supporting Cedar Lake economy. I do think it makes sense to get a vehicle for the department. I'm just curious what line item and we're comfortable with that purchase.
It will be coming out of our vehicles line item, and we are good to go for that for this year. It was pretty heavily padded.
And we're not looking for any other maintenance vehicles this year?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, not like pickup trucks, or I could foresee some money, having more money to go in towards the John Deere 955 tractor, which is an old tractor for the park system. But that's really like repairs and maintenance line item things. Our pickup trucks are brand new. We have 2 trucks, 2 trailers, and now the John Deere Gator for ground maintenance use. So we're looking really good as far as like the maintenance vehicles. It's really just the opportunity to get around, grab supplies, run programming. We're at that clubhouse very, very much, and we're at Strax a lot for our programming. So looking for a grocery getter, and to get us to conference annually and to our training seminars throughout the year.
Okay.
And then the vehicle will be parked on site.
Yeah, it's not a take-home vehicle, it's a
Correct.
pool car for the department. So even if office staff would not be needing it, but a third maintenance guy needed to go run, get supply, or go to the, you know, to the hardware store, they would have access to it as well.
Okay. And just for reference, we have, I don't know, 8, 9 options here. The cheapest option is a Chevy Equinox with a price tag of $24,400, and that's from Illinois. The most expensive option is a Ford Edge with a price tag of $40,000 from Smith Ford. So this option is a Jeep Compass from James and Cedar Lake at $26,672. So it is on the lower end and it's local, and I think it will serve your purpose.
Durango, 34,000.
44, yeah, sorry, I thought it was in order, but yeah, 44,000 for Dodge Durango. I think that the Jeep Compass would serve your purpose.
We certainly are not buying a used vehicle for this. We need to buy new.
Yeah, because just the warranty itself, pays for that. Okay, what's the board's pleasure on this item?
I would like to make a motion to approve purchase of the 2004 Jeep Compass Sport.
2024, sorry.
What?
2024,
No, is that?
2004.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
Sorry.
I wish.
Yeah.
2024 Jeep Compass Sport from James of Cedar Lake for $26,672.
Thank you. Motion by Sarah.
I second that.
Oh, from the vehicles line item of our parks budget.
Okay, motion by Sarah,
Seconded.
second by Greg. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markort,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, motion carries 3-0. Okay, one more time, Mindy.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report.
Should I kind of just do the whole superintendent report?
Yeah, just hit the highlights.
Okay, highlights, let's see, what do we want to talk about? The dog park, we have 85 members currently, so we're hopping up on that. We are still in our upcycle rain barrel and composter fundraiser for the Taylor Ice Fest. We're currently at a sales of 9, so our, last day is approaching us, like, what is it, June? Craig, what date is the end date for the rain barrel project to order?
June 1st.
June 1st.
And then June
So,
15th pick up.
let's push those rain barrels. I think that is a good opportunity for the community, and it also helps the Taylor Ice Fest offset some of those costs. We are pretty big news. We're currently undergoing the Kiwanis Playground surfacing over at Hanover Park, and the old mulch has been removed and will be repurposed in another park. We have earmarked, actually, Hanover Park to be the new home of the rubber mulch, because we do have to go into a playground perimeter expansion there. So we're looking to finish up this Kiwanis Playground here as weather permits, but with the rain, it's a little hard to put the surfacing down. And we should be seeing this as a completion date by around May 13th, if weather moves forward. And then we will be 100% ADA accessible for our first playground here in our community. So that
Great.
feels good. The security cameras at Kiwanis Park, I do have to correct my superintendent report to you. I was under the understanding when Cliff replied that he got an 8-camera system that we had access to 8 cameras. We got a system that is acceptable to take 8 cameras, so we only have 4, and we have the ability to buy more cameras if we want, but I did meet him on site, and we talked about locations and that, and it looks like 4 is going to cover about every square inch of that park, and he just found a better, more high-tech deal on the 8-camera system when he went actually shopping for it, and so he's just, jumped at it, and so we have the ability to add more with this system. And rumor has it that if Cliff wants to speak on it, I heard he was over at Kiwanis working on some things today. Cliff, are we getting close?
sorry, the playground cameras are in, they're on.
They're in and they're on. That's awesome.
Great. That'll be good, especially when dog park season ramps up too.
So,
Thank you, Cliff, for your hard work on this project. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Cliff.
Well, thank you, my pleasure, Carla, thank you.
And then, moving forward, we're working on programs and events. I don't want to be the spoiler because Greg actually has a nice fun announcement as the rec coordinator, but just say I had my hands a little bit in the pot while we were working on it. So, I'm gonna leave that to him to talk about. It was kind of mentioned in my report. And, you know, we're just plugging around for the season, trying to get everything mowed in a timely fashion, and it's been hard. We're currently hiring as well, so we are looking for those seasonal maintenance positions. And so if you do know anybody, please send them our way. 18 or older, and we will keep them busy for the summer, so they can go back to college with money in their pockets.
Great. So bring your applicants to the park
Park
office
department, yeah.
for seasonal maintenance workers. Thanks, Mindy.
maybe one quick question.
Sure.
Who's going to have access to those cameras?
It will be the park office and the police department who would have access to that.
Great. Thank you. All right, Greg, you're up.
All right, so it recently came to our attention that the seniors would like more, like, in the newspapers and all that stuff, so we got with the Family Fire. I'm working on that right now. We are also getting with the town planner that we're putting information out there for everyone. As far as the community engagement that Mindy, I got contacted with Ladilla, El Salto, Bigby, and then SIP, who not kind of, we're trying to get for community engagement this summer, just so the community can come talk to us about parks. And then the one thing that Minnie was talking about is we are doing movies in the park, and we had a poll out there on Facebook, and the three movies that won were Shrek, Migration, and Trolls, the new Trolls movie that came out. Those are the three movies that won. So those
All right.
Yes. And then the last thing is obviously we are going into the third week for soccer. And I must say practices, games, as you can see out there, it's heavily attended. It's really cool to see. Actually, one of our coaches is here. She can speak on that as well if she would like. But yeah, it's going really well with that as well. A lot of happy faces are leaving on practices and on game days on Saturday.
Awesome.
And that's it.
Yeah, I'll just.
Any comment on the park coach, or the soccer?
Yes, I'm coaching the littlest, the 4 to 5s, and it's super cute. Lots of kids. They're all smiling, having fun, like Greg was saying, and both sides of the field are always full of family, extended family even, so it's good to see.
Great. And it looks like you have blood drive here too, June 5th.
Yeah, it's at the clubhouse. If anyone's
Okay.
interested, yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Before I forget, I did want to recognize a couple of the park's employees that celebrated work anniversaries. Bill Westerhoff, I think he's been with the town for longer than the Parks Department had been around.
Definitely is.
He celebrated his 11-year anniversary with the town of Cedar Lake. And our Parks Superintendent Mindy recently celebrated her 1-year anniversary with the parks, and she's done a great job as our superintendent. So congratulations on the anniversary, and keep up the good work for the town.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, there was no written communication, correct?
No.
Okay, no written communication, I'll open it up for public comment. Public comment going twice, 3 times. Public comment's closed. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right, this meeting's adjourned at 6:24 p.m. The next meeting is June 6th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m.